look at this. Look at the mounting, and it is a safety car. Here comes Mika into Stoke Corner. Whoa! Almost! And away we go here in the Netherlands for leading down towards the next couple. Oh, it is! Oh my god! Whoa! Bit of a season as Nolo wins in Monza for FRLT Tier 1 of 4 and right beneath! Oh, here he goes! Hello, and welcome to FRLT Season 5, and it is time for Assists, round number 9. Yes, we are back, and as you see, it is epic. I am back again for the 9th race of the season. Let's have a quick stroll through what's coming up for tonight. For tonight, we, of course, come to the track of Qatar. It is 3.343 miles, 16 turns, 1 DRS down the pit straight. And as you can see, it's a very flat track. Quite twisty though, quite a twisty track. The calendar, we've gone through Monza, Mexico, Brazil, Netherlands, mystery race, Hungary, Imola, Great Britain. And this week it is meant to be another mystery race, but because nobody wanted to basically do another mystery race this week, it's Qatar instead, as you've seen. So we've got that going on. We're currently on our way to invite the last couple of people to the race, because there's a lot of people who still haven't joined yet, which I don't know why some people never seem to join or ask early. But, you know, that's the way it goes. Too many people are like, really gets on my nerves. Yeah, so we've just got a couple of people to go through next. So we're currently just trying to find everybody. So we are... So we've got 17 drivers in at the moment. We're missing 3. I'm not sure who we're missing at the moment. I know we're missing Lewin Skiller. We've got both AZRs, both McLarens, both LRs, both UFRTs, both PRs. We've only got 1 VMV in, 2 both AERTs. We're missing an ABE driver who's just decided to wake up all of a sudden, like usual. Leave it late like usual. Now I've got to try and find him. We'll have a look at the standings in just a minute. I do apologise, guys. I'm having to find somebody really quickly. Of course, nobody joins early, do they? So, let's have a quick look at the standings. It's very interesting. After last race, SKG with a 9 out of 10 performance, best on the grid, and pushed themselves even further into the lead of the championship. SET got penalties post-race, losing 5 points, going down to 107 points. EVR also suffered a penalty, which lost them a couple of points, but only 1 in the end from their original result. PR as well gained 1 place, but it wasn't a position that actually gained them any points. So in the end, P6 and P11, bit of a tough race for them. AZR did not race, same as VMV. ABE with the double DNF, UFRT right at the back of the pack, far, far behind. AERT with a strong finish, though, pulling themselves back into the pack. Definitely pulling themselves back up into the pack. We're still missing 2 drivers at the moment. We are missing a VMV, and we are missing... What are we missing? We're also missing an AB driver at the moment. So we'll see whether these guys will join. People needing double invites, worst thing to ever exist. But this is like, I say this every week. Please try to get in early. Don't just wait until 2 minutes before, or as soon as it hits 8 o'clock, then ask. But you know. So we're going to have a full 20 driver grid, which is nice to have tonight. Gonna be having the full 20 driver grid. Let's see how the grid's going to go. See how the racing is going to be. Who do you think is going to come out on top this week? SET need a massive week in their championship. Ethan with the AZR, obviously. We'll have to see, because you guys have not performed well in the last 2 races. And when we get to qualifying, it's going to be pretty... It's going to be pretty interesting to see. I mean, double DNF and did not race last week. Your last 2 races, one you've not been there for, but we'll have to. We're going to have to wait and see how that goes. So we're about to get underway in the next few moments. So we are loading in now, and I'll show you as soon as we are loaded in to qualifying, as soon as we are in. So it's going to be quite interesting to see how tonight's race is going to go. I believe there is a driver that has found themselves in the wrong car. That's sadly a penalty. I always say this to teams, please make sure your drivers get in the right car, and it's also up to it's also up to the teams to do it and the drivers to do it. But who knows anymore? It seems like people don't seem to really listen. Just seems to be the way it is at the moment. Nobody seems to listen. But we are loading in, by the way. It is just taking a while to load in. And I can take you to the track now. As you see, we'll just quickly get everything up on your screen. I've just got to quickly invite D-Mub again, because D-Mub, like usual, late to the party. Although, to be fair, he isn't usually late. He had to restart his PC, to be fair. But all 19 drivers about to become 20 drivers are racing. There's somebody who I believe is in the wrong car. No, Mattia did go into the Haas. So lucky for Mattia, he's not in the Williams, or he would have been receiving a penalty. FER trying to get their campaign back on track. 10 points now behind SET. Big championship rivals, of course. SKG running away with this championship a little bit. They are very much running away with this championship. 149 points ahead in the championship. That's not ahead in the championship. 149 points scored this season for SKG compared to their closest, which is SET in second, who have only scored 107 points in 8 races. And then, of course, EVR with 97. So second and third have gotten very close. Same as fourth on 85 points. So second, third and fourth, very, very close. So I have to say, it is very, very close there. But I do have some interesting stats to show. Pace-wise, track to track. EVR on top at the moment in straight line speed, shown last week in their overtaking ability. High speed and medium speed, SKG, and low speed, surprisingly, AERT. We're about to have the first run of the evening as Frozen makes his way across the line to start off his lap. You can see very, very open. You're riding on that left-hand side. That left tyre, of course, going straight onto the curb and into turn one. You throw the car through with all the speed you've got. You've got to touch that little bit of orange curve that isn't really a tall curve. It's just kind of the ground. And through turn 2, very nicely there. Through the kink of turn 3. Then we've got turn 4 and 5. They come up very quickly here. Double right-hander. And that is Sector 1. Sector 1 goes by very quickly. 29.649 is the time to beat for the first sector. Through this right-hander now, you've got the small kinks. Of course, PR have a quali ban from an incident in qualifying last week. So Switch is taking that qualifying ban through the hairpin. Very nice there from Frozen. Through the triple right-hander. You've got to get this right. You've got to be careful as well with track limits on the inside because you can get invalidated very easily. Through this left-hander, easy. It's very easy. It looks incredibly easy for the EVR driver. A little bit of sliding on the rear into the final corner. And coming up to the line, where's Frozen going to go? He does a 1 minute 20.311. And an interesting session. Mattia as well retires because he's, I think, because he has a qualifying ban because of change in lineup. Somebody is on a lap. That's LK that's on a lap. Let's see what LK is going to do. Across the line, he goes to a 1 minute 20.812, so he's just over half a second behind, so he's quite far off at the moment. Brandon just finds 11 thousandths over LK when he crosses the line. Raphael goes to a 20.7, still quite far behind, not exactly there when it comes down to pace-wise. Waiting for the next car to cross the line, I think. Got Lewin Skiller. Lewin Skiller goes round in the end, and that was Adira that went round, that came round and goes P6, 21.4, so very, very far away at the moment. Yanni Casares went to a 20.7 as well, low 7. There's quite a few drivers reaching that point here tonight. Quite a lot of drivers doing quite similar lap times. Yuma starting his lap. Looking for the next car. The next car is Paynes that's starting off his lap. Of course, he put in that incredible pole last week in Silverstone. He's hoping to do it again for them. I think we just saw Angel come across the line, and Angel Tovar, who goes P6. Not the best of laps for himself. 21.3s, over a second behind provisional pole, so he's far, far away from that attempt. It's very far away at the moment. Looking to Tom, he's invalidated. A lot of drivers struggling. 3 drivers, of course, with qualifying bans here tonight. So a couple of drivers not being able to do their laps. They're not, I don't think, entirely happy with. We've got Dara coming around. We've got Lewin Skiller, who's already in the pits. I think that's Sander. Sander's not going to be completing a lap. But Rusted Bolt will, and it's a very slow lap. It's slowest of all, along with his teammate. Umut making his way around the final corner and up to the line. Where is Umut going to go? He goes P2, 20.4. First real competitive time of the evening. I've got to say, it is very much the first real competitive time we've seen this evening at all. Payne's coming up to the line. Where's he going to go? He goes fastest of all to a 1 minute 20.241, finding just 700ths, not thousands, 700ths over Frozen. Of course, this is championship. Remember, this is championship chances up on the line for some of these guys. I mean, you've got to take into account, for instance, for SET. You know, they're now 42 points away from the championship leaders. They're very far behind. And, you know, this race, if they can close that gap up by 10 points, you know, that automatically brings them back up into the championship. You know, then it's only 32 points and doing that race after race. But that's a difficulty that a lot of teams can't get past, is when there's a big gap difference. Usually the team, you know, if a team gets to, especially with this point system, if a team gets to about a 42 point gap, it's almost impossible, as Russ Volt goes P9 just ahead of his teammate. But it practically becomes impossible to get, you know, any really, really good positions, you know, and it does become difficult as Brand goes P8, but PR needing a strong evening as well to push up for their top 3 in the championship. But it's tough. I think it is very tough for a lot of teams out there at the moment. It's a very close grid. Something that I don't think a lot of people do notice, you know, they look at the championship and they go, SKG, 42 points ahead. But that's mostly come down to consistency. And I will say a fair share of luck in the races. I think last week was quite lucky for SKG because there were quite a few incidents, a couple of spins, a couple of drivers, you know, quite a few drivers making mistakes. And even though it is a skill not to make mistakes, it's more, I would say it definitely still comes down to the fact that I think if other drivers didn't make so many mistakes, I think we probably would have seen SKG not scoring as many points. Maybe the championship be a lot closer, but it's kind of been race after race. SET make a few more mistakes than SKG. EVR's closed up sort of because they're not making as many mistakes when it comes down to driving wise, and they've actually really pushing hard for the championship, and that's proving to be quite difficult for instance, SET to keep ahead. And you can see that's why it's gone from being, you know, they were over 20 points behind, 20, 30 points behind, and now they're just 10 points behind. You know, that's why EVR is catching every single race now. And that's not what you want, especially when you're battling over prize money as well. There is, you know, of course, prize money in this. So when you're battling over a decent difference in prize money, it's really difficult for teams to go, oh, well, that's cool. You know, it is difficult. Luca goes P4 to a 20.6. Still a bit off in lap time. Not exactly there still when it comes down to lap time. But yeah, I think it's a very common problem at the moment. I think with this grid is that it's closing in on that gap, and that's something that SET and EVR have to maybe work together to do. But so far, it's not been the best of qualifyings for SKG. 5th and 13th at the moment. Only 12 drivers have set lap times. That's a possible 17. So it's interesting to see. I'm waiting to see who's setting laps. D-Mub just set his first lap of the evening. Then we've got that was Sander, who's gone P5. That's a qualifying lap he needed to put in there. Very strong. That's Yannick Asaris, who's just starting his lap. There's lots of drivers crossing line, trying to see who is... Brandon's just starting a lap. Then it's Raphael. So Lewin Skiller's coming across the line. He goes P4. Ahead of his teammate to a 20.5. So 0.2 ahead. Solid gap between teammates. Frozen's not very happy. He's clearly not very happy with that lap there. You can see he was just wiggling his front end, just showing he's not happy. Paynes is coming round slowly. Who else? We got Dadira. He's slowly coming back to the pits. I think it's Angel that's coming round. Let's see how Angel will do when he comes around to the final corner on the track. Coming up to the line. Let's see what Angel can do. Across the line. P11. Very strong lap there. Good improvement from Angel. Very strong improvement that was needed. Bran has just started his lap. I think we're getting the next run of drivers coming across the line. Yannick Asaris is next. He's improved by just over 0.2. He goes P3. 20.4 set for himself. Then we've got Tom coming across the line. He goes P9. 20.8 on the dot. Then we've got LK who's slowly coming up to the line. He improves by 0.2. That's a solid lap there. His teammate isn't going to be able to improve. He's invalidated, and that's a poor run for himself. Lewin Skiller's coming in because he's had a bit of a different strategy compared to his teammate. Because Frozen's coming in not happy with his lap at all. So definitely an unhappy driver there. Brandon as well. Quite a few drivers struggling to put together the laps here. Because Paynes is coming up to the line. Are we going to see the first lap time dip into the 1 minute 19s? No, we're not. But it's 44 thousandths faster to a 1 minute 20.197. And what an incredible lap there. Set for a second run from Paynes. Very, very good second run from himself. I did not expect to see that. I think Bran is on a lap. He's up by 64 thousandths. So he's still going to sit in P14. So a bit of a struggle for Bran at the moment. Maybe PR setup's not working as well as he thought they would be. Coming up to the line, what is Bran going to do when he crosses the line? He improves by 0.2 and goes up to P12. But it is only P12 and still outside of the top 10 for himself. Hasho's starting a lap now. Let's see what Hasho will do. Let's ride on board. We saw Frozen on his lap. Let's see what Hasho does. You can see very different line there through turn 1. Quite a bit wider, not going all the way. But a bit tighter through the second corner though. So quite interesting to see the difference. It looks like more exit focused from Hasho. You know, it's interesting, you know, to see. But I think Hasho, you know, it's always the racing line, isn't it? You know, it's always strange when you see the difference in the racing line with how, for instance, Hasho's focusing on exits, but we saw with his teammate Frozen, he's, you know, he was more sort of going mid-corner speed and a little bit of a slide on the rear there, quite big there actually, and that was a bit of a mistake. Not just a bit of a mistake, quite a big mistake. He wouldn't have lost too much, so definitely this run will still count and better to get it across the line. Pushing the track limits all the way. Now into the penultimate corner. Whoa, and he just pushes it too much. He should have taken more of the inside curb, and that's what happens when you don't. And into the pits comes Hasho, and that's him done on his lap. Raphael's going slowly. I think there's a driver going around slowly. That is Luca, who's starting off his run here. 3 minutes and 20 seconds to go in qualifying. Let's see what Luca can do. It's only Luca and Frozen who are going to be on laps. Nice thing for Frozen, he's got completely clean air in front of him. So this, I think, will be his final run. So he's got to make this count. But Luca making his way around, looking pretty solid so far through the first sector. We see a lot of drivers make mistakes here at the double right-hander. It's high speed, it's difficult. It gives the driver something to fight with. But looking very calm through there. Only up by 0.003 of a second in his first sector. So Luca not improving enough to gain position. See, this is the section I love to ride on board with the cars through. It's such high speed. You You know, it's just high speed, cornering. It's everything I love to see with these cars, to be honest. It is brilliant to see with this game. But Luca out of the middle sector. He's up by 27,000, so he's not up by a lot. At the moment, not gaining position unless he can get this final sector nailed. Unless he can absolutely nail this final sector and push it all the way up to the edge, which he is. Into the final corner goes Luca. If he can find a 10th, he will go up to P5. So he needs to find a little bit more than that. And across the line, he only finds 79 thousandths, but it's enough to go P6. So just narrowly misses out on a position. You can see everybody flooding out of the pits. Bit of sliding from Frozen out of the final corner and across the line. Where is Frozen going to go? Frozen goes quickest to 1 minute 20.177. And that is a new time to be exactly 200ths quicker than Payne's. So Payne's just has to gain 21 thousandths of a second to now reach pole. So it's not a huge gap. And it is going to come down to the milliseconds. It's very much between these two of EVR and SCT tonight. I don't think any other team is really in the battle for these places. Angel is going to be the next one. A lot of the drivers quite spread out at first. You see only about 6 drivers spread out in the final sector. But Angel starting his lap, making his way around. AZR need a big evening. They haven't taken points in the last 2 races. So they really need a good qualifying performance. Only P11 and P13 at the moment. So need to find a lot more time in this lap. Of course, it's very difficult. I will say with Qatar, it's always difficult to find huge amounts of time on the second or third run because we're only seeing drivers improve by at most sort of. You see a lot of the higher drivers only improve by maybe 3-4 tenths from their first run because of track evolution. So there's not a huge amount of gain with this track because it's flat. There's, you know, a small mistake doesn't affect you as much as it would on other tracks. As Frozen now retires, he's done all he could. Angel making his way around. He's very much on his own. He's not going to have any traffic, so he's perfectly timed this. Up by 1/10.5 in the middle sector. So only found a little bit more time from his first sector. Only about 15 thousandths of a second, so it's very small. The margins are there. This 1/10.5 will send him up to about P10, so he will be inside of the top 10 then. And a good start for AZR coming into Qatar. Luca has finished. He's done for tonight. That's the first driver to be done. And Angel across the line. He improves by 10.5 and does go P10 into the 1 minute 20.7. We've then got a Williams coming round. Got one of them, and that is Umut or Umut. Either one, I'm going to say Umut coming up to line. Let's see, where is he going to go? He improves by 15 thousandths and stays P4. That's not Payne's. That was Sander coming across the line. And that is P9. Is that Hasho? Yes, it is. It is Hasho coming across the line. He goes P5. And a very good lap. Yannick Casares is into the pits. And he's done with his session. D-Mub finishes. He's not happy with how that's gone for himself. You can see LK stays P6. So no improvement there for himself. Brandon goes up into P10. And that's a great improvement for himself. Lewin Skiller P7. And that's a strong lap indeed. Tom goes P13. I think we've just seen Russell Bolt stay P15. Dodira P15, sorry. And that's not too bad. Bran only goes P12. Somebody jumped up the order. And that was, I believe, that was Raphael that jumped up the order. Paynes couldn't improve on his lap. He went exactly 1,000th slower. So that was not enough for himself. And in the end, that is qualifying. And it is Frozen on pole and EVR on pole for this race. Ooh, I'm excited to see how this race is going to go now. But still, front two, looking strong, out on their own. Paynes and Frozen, very much out on their own. Only 2 drivers in a 19 in a 20.1. Only 2 drivers to even be below the 20.4s. So let's go through the order. Frozen is on pole, followed by Paynes, Yannick Casares, Umut, Hasho, Raphael, LK, Lewin Skiller, Luca, Brandon, Sander, Bran, Angel Tovar, AERT Tom, Dodira, Rusted Bolt, D-Mub, Impact, Mattia, and Switch in last place. But it's impressive to see how close the rest of the grid is. from 3rd down to sort of 15th. They're all within sort of 3-4 tenths of each other. Incredible to see how close they are to each other. But it's impressive to see. So we're just going to quickly put in how long the drivers have to sort out their setup, sort out their strategies. I'm giving them just over 2 minutes to use their strategies and what they want to do. But what surprised me here was that it was only 2 drivers really in the battle from pole from the start of qualifying to the end of qualifying. You know, we know that Paynes did a really good lap, but we also saw quite early on that, you know, both Paynes and Frozen did incredibly good laps very early on. You know, they were clearly ahead by sort of, I'd say, at least 2 tenths off of the start of qualifying. They had a good 1.5 2 tenths straight away. And then going into the end of qualifying, they kept that. Usually you'd see if somebody's further ahead at the start of qualifying, usually that gap closes. So if they're 2 tenths ahead, usually that closes down to maybe 1/10 or 1/2 tenth. But instead it was just Paynes and Frozen that was just sort of going at it for pole. Last week Paynes put it on pole. This week it's Frozen. So it's interesting to see 2nd and 3rd battling over pole. SKG didn't come away too well from that qualifying. Not the best. They didn't come away too well in the end. Not where they want to be. They are a good 2 tenths away from the front too. So if we were to base that's 2 seconds by lap 10 that they're set to be off of, well, over 2 seconds behind after just 10 laps. If we base it off of that pace, that's quite far behind. I suspect we might see SKG go for the hard tyres to start off with, maybe even the mediums. I suspect they might try to go for the mediums, purely for the reason of mediums will keep them up with the front runners. But of course, tyre wear not too great on this year's game with those medium tyres. So we'll have to see. So, we'll be getting underway any minute. But SKG, let me just give you a reminder of how the championship goes at the moment. SKG lead the championship on 149 points, followed by SET in second on 107, then EVR on 97, then PR on 85, AZR on 59, then it's LR on 51, then it's AERT on 42, then it's VMV on 39, AB on 34, and then it's, I think it's then UFRT on 14. So the gap between last and ninth is a bit bigger, but between second, third, and fourth are all very close. At the rate that LR are scoring points, they will overtake AZR off of this race. And where they've qualified, they will overtake AZR out of Qatar for 5th in the championship. It's not going to be it's not the same as they did in season 3 when they finished 3rd in the Constructors' Championship. They've not been the same since season 3. Last season they finished last with 12 points. But we are getting underway. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. And away we go here in FRLT Season 5, round number 9 of assists. And it's a great getaway from Frozen. We can see a lot of chaos happening further back and into turn 1. Frozen goes into the lead. He holds on to that lead. You can see Yuma trying to make the move for P2 in this race. He's up to P3 already. LK battling with his teammate Raphael for position. Over lower positions, Luca has spun around. He's had a bit of a moment. He's down to last in this race. You can see a lot of chaos happening further back. But Frozen has gotten away pretty well. Is that somebody that... It looked like somebody went round there for a second. But down the inside goes Yanni Casares. You see, look at that. Yuma goes wide. He loses a couple of places. Oh my god, that is a piece of front wing flying off in the distance. And that is the perfect start for Yanni Casares. But if we quickly bring up everything, we will find he's on the medium tyres. Only Yuma is on the hards, followed by Bran, Mattia, Impact, and Switch, all on the hard tyres. So at the moment, it's looking pretty interesting. Lewin Skiller's gained a couple of places as well. But not a good one for Sander, who's had a bit of a spin. He's dropped down to P19. He's had a bit of a spin there, and that is a big mistake, especially when it comes down to championship-wise at the moment. That's a very, very big mistake to start off the evening, but he's got a chance to reel it back in. He's only 2 seconds behind the pack, so we could definitely close that back up. But Frozen leads away onto lap 2. EVR counting up the laps they've led this season, and it's proving to be an interesting one. This season has been completely dominated by SKG and SET leading laps. You know, I showed, I think, in Abu Dhabi that they've led about 90%, or something about between about 85 to, I think, about 95% of laps this season. And it's kind of kept at that about 85, 86% since then. But every lap that, of course, they don't lead, you know, the top 2 don't lead, you know, it just gives it away. But in the last sort of 2-3 races, it's gone very much the other way, where EVR, AB, you know, other teams have started to take the lead of the race, especially EVR lately. So that's been pretty interesting. Tyres-wise, mediums for pretty much everyone except Yuma, Bran, Mattia, Impact, and Switch. You can see there's a bit of battling going on over P14 between Rusted Bolt and D-Mub. And Rusted Bolt up to 14th in this race. UFRT needing some points tonight, only on 14 points. So they really do need a big evening tonight. If they can at least score another 2 points their campaign, that will help them quite a bit. We'll have to see whether they're going to be able to do that. Didera, P12, in a bit of a better place. Of course, penalties and warnings is a very possible round this track. And already, Umat over a second behind the top 3. So it is between the top 3 in the Constructors once again this week. Frozen, Pains, and Yanni Casares all battling for the win. Once again, they're all in this train. They're all in this battle once again. I have to say, it's incredible to see. You know, I've never seen sort of the top 3 teams dominate as much as these 3 have. They have 98% of the laps led this season between just the top 3, which is unbelievable that 98% of all laps this season have been led by the top 3 in the Constructors. Somebody's gone round, and that's Didera that's gone round. And Didera down to last, and that is pure disappointment for Didera. Damage as well on the front wings, so even worse, and that could be race ending very much for the UFRT driver. UFRT not coming away with a good weekend once again. But Frozen still leads away, about to finish the 3rd lap of leading in a row. But remember, only 29 laps. This race isn't too long, actually. It's actually quite, I have to say, this race is actually very short. It's shorter than Silverstone. Silverstone, by the way, is, you know, it's a lot shorter than Silverstone in the end. Even for the laps. But here comes Pains. Is he going to go for it? No, he's not. Frozen has enough straight line speed. I said about how EVR have the straight line speed. Lewin Skiller down the inside of Yuma makes up the place up to P4. That's exactly what SKG need. But, you know, as I was saying, as now Didera retires in the pits. First retirement of the evening. But as I was saying, EVR have been the dominating team when it comes down to straight line speed. Last week, they were miles in front last week in straight line speed. In the last 3 races, they've actually averaged at 2nd in the 2 previous races before that, and then last race was 1st, so they now take the lead in it. They've actually, across the season, had the highest average speed compared to most teams, so they've been, on average, at worst, they've been 4th. At best, of course, they've been 1st. They've been 1st 3 times in 8 races for top speed, which is more than anyone else. High speed cornering, though, SKG's strength, as it showed last week, medium speed as well. They really were dominating those medium speed corners. But low speed, AERT came in quickest of all. So it's proving to be an interesting one. But of course, it's a terrible evening for AERT. And it's showing that, you know, low speed was more of their strength, because there's not really many low speed corners on this track. There's only really one, and that is the hairpin that is at the beginning of Sector 2. That first corner of the hairpin, turn number 6, is the slowest corner on this track. And of course, that's not what you want. You know, realistically, only one low speed corner on this entire track does not help any team that is strong in low speed corners. And it's showing, because P11 and P19 at the moment, when it comes down to position on track, and that's not where you want to be. But another thing that's incredible to see is actually the pace this season. This is taken from the last 3 races, by the way. SKG still lead. They've led, by the way, for the past 5 races in pace. So since after round 3, they've led in average pace between their teammates. EVR reclaimed 2nd place last week. AERT as well, coming in with a strong performance, moving up to 3rd, reducing their time gap by 2/10 last week, which is quite good to see. SCT as well reduced theirs by 3/10. That's how close last week was when it came down to pace. PR as well, they reduced it down by just over 1/10 of a second, which brought them down to half a second behind in average pace, lap on lap. AZR, though, because they didn't race, they've actually dropped positions. They dropped from being 2nd quickest to already down all the way to 6th. In one goes Raphael is battling with Brandon over some position of P8. Raphael still battling it, still on the inside, not being given a huge amount of room there. Heading now into turn number 4 and not being able to defend the position and holding on for P9 at the moment. For Raphael, Luca gets the first penalty of the evening. Some disappointment there for himself. Lewin Skiller, by the way, is caught up to the top 3, so it's now a 4-way battle for the win, but still between 3 different teams. Everybody's still pretty close to each other. Brandon's losing a bit of time. He's dropping off just very slightly. But I will say at the moment, it's interesting though. VMV as well didn't race last week, so they stay there. UFRT actually dropped in pace. They dropped by 0.3 of a second in a single week, which is, just to point out, the worst we've had this season for drops of pace. The highest before being a 10th, just almost 0.2 of a second, just under that. Now it's 0.3. AB as well, double DNF. They kept at the same pace. They lost a bit of pace. Sorry, they lost about 0.4 last week in pace, so they were quite far off. So it's been a bit of a tough week for some, bit of an easier week for others. Raphael now makes his way past Brandon for P8, heading into turn 2. Is he going to hold on to this position? Of course, as medium tyres starting to get a bit worn. He's also lost that second, being within a second to his teammate in 7th, so he's going to have to hold on for this position now. Remember, this is the battle over 5th in the Constructors between LR and AZR. AZR only want to score 2 points to bring themselves to 61 points in their campaign in 9 races, compared to LR that currently are gunning for another 8 points this evening, so bringing themselves to 59 points. So they will just be 2 points behind in the championship compared to their current 8 points behind. So it is closing up in the championship between these two. But it isn't good for... It's not been good for AZR the last couple of races. They've really had some struggles. They haven't been able to make anything work. Same for UFRT as well. They've been very similar in the last 2 races where nothing has worked for either team. And, you know, no points in the last 2 races has been a massive hit to their strong season. They were having podiums in the first 5 races, and now their best finish in 3 races is set to be a P9 finish, and that might even go down because Bran is very close behind and looking to make a move very soon. Frozen, though, I've got to say, he's had a really good start to his race. Nobody's really come for him. Luca retires from the race. 1 AERT down. But pretty difficult. Pretty difficult, I've got to say. It's looking... It's looking pretty interesting, to see. But Frozen, I mean, leading all of these first 7 laps, 7 whole first laps, we haven't seen that really a lot this season. Usually by lap 3 or 4, somebody's made a move. But like I said, EVR is going to be difficult. Only one DRS zone, remember, on this entire track. And it got shortened on this year's game as well. It got shortened by about, I think it was about 50 meters. Or, sorry, not 50. I think it was about 40 meters it was shortened by. So it's made overtaking a bit harder. You can't build up as much speed. And especially against a team like EVR that very much do focus on straight line speed. And that's just holding Frozen up in the lead of this race. You see 6/10. Look at how much that's going to come down by the end of the straight. That's only come down by 1/10. 2/10. It's not coming down by a lot. And it's just about 3/10 by the time they reach the corner. So, he's losing less than 3/10 down that straight. And so as long as he keeps over half a second in front, with, of course, dirty air affecting Pains, he's just able to hold on to this race lead, lap after lap. But it's pretty difficult. I think 2 groups have definitely split off the top. The top 7 have very much gone off on their own. And then 8th and below, all within a second of each other. Massive. I've got to say, it's an absolute massive group back here that have just all following and snaking around. You can just see as the cars snake round, as Brandon has actually lost that, and now he's over a second behind. So that's now down to 2 drivers in a small group, and then the rest. But AZR might even be looking like they're going to drop outside of the top 10 here, and again another race without points. Frozen, though, a little bit further ahead this time round, so even a little bit further ahead. Hasho now heads into the pits, the first stop of the evening. Interesting to see, but you can see from further back, Pains gains about 1/10. So you can see, slipstream still proving to be a massive thing for teams to have. Hasho goes down to 18th and last in this race, just off of that. On to lap 10. As we surpass a third of the way through the race. Always interesting when we reach this distance. This is when the pit stops start to happen. So we'll have to see. Is Yuma, LK, Lewin Skiller, Yanni, Pains, and even Frozen, Hasho's teammate, going to react to this possible undercut coming from Hasho? So we'll have to see whether this is going to happen. This was what I was saying about, really, when it came down to it. Look at this. Pains pushing for the lead. Bit of a tough lap from Frozen so far, but you can see those tyres are really worn on Pains. Same as Frozen's. Oh, and just pushing it a little bit too much there. Getting a warning, of course, for going over track limits there. But look at this. Pains trying to send it around the outside. Trying to push Frozen offline. But Frozen goes into the pits anyway. And on to lap 11, shall say. And it's the first change for the lead in this entire race, by the way. But here comes Yuma. Remember, on those hard tyres. So his hard tyres have now woken up. And they are quicker than mediums. And he's already gotten past Lewin Skiller. So he seems to maybe be the quickest out on track now when it comes down to tyres. And look at this. Look at this. Frozen and Hasho have come out right by each other. And so officially Hasho should be up to about P3 based off of that. He should be up to about P3 at the moment if he's ahead of Yanni Casares, which is interesting to see. I did not expect to see Hasho get up into 14th and ahead. I thought he might just be. I thought he was going to be a lot closer, but not actually getting past. So very big undercut. Definitely about 2 seconds is the undercut for just one go lap. So for Paynes here, he might be in trouble. D-Mub gets a 3-second time penalty, the first penalty of the evening, followed by Angel as well, who does the same thing. But now the big worry is how much is Paynes going to get undercut by, because Frozen is coming round the fastest part of the track now that's completely flat, that's flat out until the final corner, or pretty much flat out. So we'll have to see. Frozen does go over a bit there. Into the final corner goes Frozen. Where is he going to come out? Because he's already down this pit straight. And zooming along, as you could see. He's absolutely zooming along. He's going to get ahead of the old pack. Where does he come out? He does get in front. But the big question, does Hasho? Hasho's going round the outside. He is trying it. Hasho gets up into P7 and ahead of Paynes. That's about an extra 4-5 tenths he's found. So that lap was so incredibly important because now Yannick Casares has lost a place, so has Paynes. And for Hasho, he's the perfect backup for his teammate because he's made it up in front of the 3 drivers closest. So this is now going to be a very interesting part of the race for, I think, everyone. How far is Frozen going to pull up into the lead of this race? Or is Frozen going to help out his teammate by giving him DRS lap after lap and keeping in the lead? Because we know EVR are the quickest down the straight. So they've proven it here tonight. Because if we, for instance, have a quick look, compared to the leader, Frozen, it's 24 seconds behind the race leader at the moment. So he's got a long way to go before he catches up. You can see he's catching up by a lot at the moment on fresh hards. You know, he's catching up by a huge amount on these fresh hard tyres. Sort of 2-3 tenths a corner. You know, that's just massive gains for Frozen. As he's just chasing after the race leader now. And, you know, he'll most likely get in front. But Frozen giving his teammate DRS is incredibly important. As there goes Tom ahead of Brandon. And that's also an important move, by the way. That's a very important move because that would be P10 in the race. In this race, it's the equivalent of P10. So, about P10, possibly P9. So for Tom, he could be up to P9 now in this race. And scoring points for AERT and closing the gap a bit more and closing that gap to AZR by another point and bringing, you know, their championship chances 4th, possibly 6th or 5th back into contention properly this season. But he is also catching up onto the pack. Umert is leading. He's a second off of his personal best, but he's going for another lap. He's going a couple of laps. ABE. This strategy has been kind of ABE's strategy every single race. D-Mub has had a bit of a moment. He's gone off track. He spun it off of the track. D-Mub not having a good day at all. Struggled to get into the lobby to begin with, and now down in P18 and last. We might be seeing our 3rd retirement of the evening from a 3rd different team. He's also got wing damage as well, so that is not good for himself. Angel gets another 3-second time penalty, and that's a big mistake for himself. Hasho now takes over P6. Teammates working together, and this is what they're on at the moment. This is how 2 drivers, teammates, dominate a race, and this is how you do it. You know, they've held on to this now for 2-3 laps. People are going to struggle to get past them, and here comes Yannick Casares down the inside on Paynes, but unable to make the move past. Is he going to go down the inside? No, he's not. But you can see, you know, Yannick Casares definitely trying to make the move, but he just does not have enough downforce. In the dirty air, he doesn't have enough. D-Mub has retired from the race, our 3rd retirement of the evening. As we're about to reach the halfway point of this race. But I have got to say, we have actually reached the halfway point, by the way. But, you know, I've got to say, Yannick Casares, they might be good in the high speed and medium speed corners, but they have not been good in dirty air tonight. They've really struggled in the dirty air of other cars. And that's not what you need from, you know, I think this is the problem for SKG. They've shown it in a race. I think they've shown it in sort of 2-3 races this season that they do struggle when they're in the dirty air of other cars. They really struggle. And you can see here, look, Yannick Casares has also gotten a penalty, by the way, so he's going to drop down the order anyway. So this is a massive points drop. Angel now also retires another retirement this evening. But Yannick Casares, he's going to drop another 3-4 places because of his penalty. So for Yannick Casares, this is a massive mistake he's made. I didn't even notice his penalties, by the way, that he had a 3-second time penalty. But that has just ruled him out of winning this race, and I think he knows it has. Paynes also gets a 3-second time penalty. So the main thing now for EVR to do is not to get any penalties. It's to focus on keeping within the track limits and not getting any penalties, because it would then sway to either SKG or LR to win this race. They've already won one race, I believe. I think. No, not one race. They didn't win a race. I don't think this season. Or they might have. I think they might have won one race this season. I can't remember anymore. Too many championships, too many standings to look at and to think about and to remember. But I do know that they have won a race this season, I do believe. So, they're up there. They can win races. They've proven that they can win races this season. So, compared to last season when they, were shown they couldn't. But on to lap number 16 we go. I know, only lap 16, but you can see, look at this. SKG losing pace quite dramatically now. And here, into turn 1, goes LK on Lewin Skiller. And this is not what Lewin Skiller needs, because he's now got a battle with LR when he really doesn't want one. And this is a bad time to start having penalties. AERT Tom, it's a bad time for him to get a penalty, and he just has a 3-second time penalty. That rules AERT out of points, pretty much. And that's another bit of disappointment for himself. Yannick Casares' penalty will see him outside of the top 10 in tonight's race, which of course is very disappointing. And that's, for SKG, it's very much a championship dooming almost, because at the moment, at least one driver, they will still have a driver that finishes ahead, but barely, and only maybe score maybe 4 or 5 points more than an SET this week. But EVR at the moment on their way to come out as the top dogs. Even with 17 points at the moment, they're way ahead of their championship rivals. And as it stands, they will overtake SET for second in the championship out of this race. EVR won 3 of the first 5 races this season and could be on their way to win a 4th race in 9 races, adding to their win rate. They only won 1 race last season. 1 race for the whole of season, for all the 10 races in season 4. They only won 1 of them. And, it was a disappointing campaign. The championship charge for a campaign they only won in Great Britain last season. That was the only race they won. And they might be expanding their wins. We know they've already won the 3 races. We know they can win multiple times now. 4-time winners in FRLT assists. Are they going to make that a 5th time? Not many teams have done it, by the way. Not many teams have done it at all. SKG won twice last season. So they lifted that number 1 trophy twice. But this season, I think they've only lifted it twice as well. So I think if I'm correct, they've lifted it 2 or 3 times. I think they've only lifted it twice. So only 2 wins for SKG this season. So they're also on 4 wins. So who's going to take that 5th win? Of course, the record still is AMS, who have... AMS still have 19 wins. They're the team with the highest wins on 19. Then yes, it is actually FG from season 1, the only season FG ever competed in, and they won 6 races out of 13, which is the highest winning percentage, by the way, for amount of races that they did out of any team, which is incredible. But that means EVR might be pushing at that chance to make it theirs, to bring a little bit of hope. In season 1, ABE won 2 races, by the way. They've won, I think, 5 races, I think. If I'm correct, they've won 5 races now in their long 4 seasons of racing in FRLT assists. They've won 5 races. EVR's about to match them in just 2 seasons. And SKG will probably also do the same. We've maybe got some trailblazers here for champions. Yuma gets a 3-second time penalty. That's going to really hurt his evening as well. Many drivers going to be dropping down the order now in tonight's race. Well, not many, actually. Paynes will still finish in P6, and Yanni will still finish in P7. So Yanni will finish P7, 5 points. And it'll be 13 plus 5, so 18 points in the end. But it will be an incredible 18 and then another 16 points. So it will be a lovely 34 points. Plus with pole 35. So it will be a lovely 35 points for EVR as it stands. If they can keep this up, it will be 35 points for EVR. Basing it off of this evening. SKG swap places as well. Umut making his... Whoa! Making a big slide, but he's making his way past the man of Raphael for P7. Raphael battling it, though, for position, but Umut able to make the move up into P7. He's trying to challenge, I think, Yanni Casares and Paynes in this race. Only 10 laps to go as well, so there's not a lot longer. Sorry, 11 laps officially. There's 11 laps to go in this race. So it is getting a little bit closer here, and it is getting a little bit scarier. How is Umut going to make his way up? His teammates retired. AB need a points finish. Umut knows he'll finish at least P8 as it stands. He knows he'll finish P8, at least. So in this case, for Umut, he's got quite a good side that he knows he'll at least get 3 points for the team tonight. But he wants more. He wants to get up another 2 places. He wants to take those 7 points. Bring the team to 41 points in their campaign. Still, at the moment, by the way, at this rate, AZR Brandon gets a 3-second time penalty as well. Let's have a quick look at the penalties as we speak. Let's have a quick look at the penalties. 3 seconds for everybody except Brandon on 6 seconds. But everybody else on 3, so it's very close. Tyre compounds, everybody's on hards except the bottom 4 and Umut in 7th. Everybody's done 1 stop in this race. It is a 1 stop. Hasho's up 4. Lewin Skill is up 4. Tom up 5. Up 6 for Matty, up 4 for Russell Bolt and Impact. Same for Switch as well. PR looking quite sad this evening. I've got to say, set to be last. It's the first time, I think, this season. I think it is the first time this season that PR will be sat as the bottom team out of a race with 15th and 16th. I think it's a very disappointing evening. With penalties, though, it looks like he'll get up to 14th, and that's it. So, at the moment, you know, bit of disappointment there. Umut, by the way, trying to make his way past LK, but LK's still fighting it. But Umut up to P6 in this race, and it's important for him to be making moves. He's made 2 moves now in 2 laps. That's important for him to be making these moves in tonight's race. It is EVR domination here tonight. Frozen's struggling a bit from his very strong pace at the start of the race. He's not doing so well on the hard tyres as I think he thought he was. He's not doing so well. But the DRS is just about hanging him on to his teammate. Impact has now set the fastest lap of the race, a 1 minute 23.036. It's the fastest lap of the race as Impact gets past his teammate for position. Brandon now makes his way past Tom. Whoa. A bit of stuff happening there. I think Sander had a bit of a battle with Tom, and ultimately Brandon has to give up the position anyway. So there goes Tom back up into P9, and Cumley on his way to finish. And I think he will finish in about P9 at the end of the race. So he'll still be taking 2 points for AERT tonight. So that is something a bit different, I have to say. I did not expect for AERT to be taking points, but they are. Umut gets another 3-second time penalty. That's going to absolutely hurt him. Switch as well. But Umut, up to 6 seconds of penalties. That's going to drop him outside of the top 10 in this race. And that is points ending. That's race ending, really, for Umut. He knows that's not going to be any points for him. LK also gets another 3-second time penalty. That's going to hurt him a lot. That's going to push Tom, Raphael, and Brandon further up. And that does not worry Yanni Casares anymore. But still, Raphael could get in front. They've still got to be on their toes. But at the moment, I've got to say, it is interesting to see. But look at this. Paynes is getting very, very close. Brandon retires, but look at this. Paynes, is he going to go down the inside? No, he's not. You can see Hasho's actually slowing down just a bit for his teammate to close back up. Because that got a little bit close. Paynes got a little bit close to the back of his teammate. But you can see Frozen's still got lots of battery. So Frozen's not using the battery, but Paynes is. So lots of saving there. AZR with another double DNF. No points for now. 3 races in a row. They've spent a third of the season without points. They've spent a third of the season pointless this season, just in season 5, which is, I cannot believe I'm saying this. It's, you know, they were getting podiums. They got, I think, 2-3 podiums this season, and now they've gone pointsless in 3 races in a row, which is just, it's not what we like, you know, it's not what AZR want, it's not what they need, but it just keeps happening to them, you know. But here, EVR are set to get a 1-2 tonight, which I believe is the first we've had in assists all season. Grand Slam, they're not going to get the Grand Slam because they haven't led every lap, and they also haven't they don't have fast lap at the moment, so they won't get the Grand Slam, but they will at least say we've gotten a 1-2. Not a lot of teams can say that, by the way. Not a lot of teams can say that they've achieved a 1-2 finish. Only 2 teams in Season 1 as Umut makes his way past Yanni Casares for P5. But I just want to point out, only 2 teams achieved a 1-2 finish in Season 1. Nobody did that in Season 2. AMS did it in Season 3. I think only 4 teams have achieved a 1-2 finish out of the, I think, 30 or 40 odd teams that have, I think it's over 30 teams that have competed in FRLT. Only 4 have completed a 1-2 finich, and EVR might be adding their name to the prestigious list of 1-2 finishes. It will be very interesting to see whether they do add their name to that prestigious list of 1-2 finishes and becoming the 5th team to do it on their 5th win as well. But EVR proving to be a very strong team, and you can see Hasho just slowing down slightly for his teammate to close back up a little bit more. Mattia gets another 3-second time penalty. Russell Bolt as well. Quite a few drivers struggling with penalties this evening. Quite a few people struggling with penalties, but Paynes, again, not close enough. He's not close enough to Frozen down this pit straight, and Frozen's just getting to save his ERS. There goes Umut for P4, and a nice move past Lewin Skiller for position. He's just hoping he can, maybe the ABE driver feels like he can get his penalty removed. He knows he can't win at the moment with how Hasho and Frozen have been so consistent without the penalties, and he knows Lewin Skiller will go in front at least to P3. But at least with his penalties, he should be able to maybe be P4, P5 if he gets in front of Paynes. So he should be able to get to about P5, maybe P6 in this race. But I've got to say, there's 2 things that are really interesting. At the moment, Raphael will go to being P4 in this race. He will take on 11 points for LR this evening. I've also got to point out that Impact is going to also take a decent chunk of points for VMV. Last double qualifying ban for VMV, and they're still on their way to score I think a P5 finish in the end. So still, they're going to take 10 points this evening and push themselves in front of AERT in the championship. And even PR might pick up some points, but I don't know yet. Paynes has made a couple of mistakes. The McLaren struggling a little bit on this lap. He's made a few mistakes and a few errors because he's now 7 tenths behind. He's even further behind this lap than he was last lap. But onto lap 25, they changed for the lead. Frozen now taking the lead of the race, sitting behind his teammate for a while. His teammate, of course, on older tyres. Let's just give you the tyre rundown of the grid. You can see 1 lap extra for Hasho on those tyres. Payne, it's ultimately Impact on the youngest tyres, same as Bran. You see some moves happening further back. I think that's Tom having a bit of battle with Sander once again over position. And that's not the battling they need here tonight. It's very much not the battling they need here tonight. Whoa, oh my god. I saw Brand try to dive it down the inside, but you can see youngest tyres 7 laps old for Impact. For Brand, the oldest tyres being for... It is actually for Hasho, who has 15 lap old hards. The oldest, he's going to have to go to 19 laps. But it's looking interesting. Impact up 9 places, by the way. So we've got to talk about up 9 places for Impact and could even finish, at the moment, P4 in this race. Sorry, not P4, but possibly P5. Between P4 and P5, if he can get past Raphael, that will be P4 and 11 points, walking the way of VMV, one of their biggest finishers this season. But Frozen still leads the way. He's pulled a second, by the way, so he's kind of leaving his teammate in the dust a little bit. I think he's hoping Hasho is able to hold it on his own, maybe slowing down for his teammate just slightly to allow him back within a second. You can see he definitely slowed down there for Hasho to get back within a second. But I think they're working off of how close Paynes is behind and whether Hasho is able to keep it up. But EVR definitely gunning for their 5th win of 5th win in assists, gunning for that 5th victory next week. If they win again, they'll not only surpass ABE, they're going to equal, as it stands, they're going to equal the 3rd highest amount of wins on 5 victories. But they're also, next week, if they win again, they'll surpass ABE and become the 2nd highest. And if they win, they need to win 2 more races this season and reach 7 wins in this season. If they do that, if they get another 2 wins this season, they will have the 2nd most wins, but still 12 wins behind the leaders on an incredible 19 wins from AMS in 4 seasons, by the way. That is across 4 seasons. EVR still getting 7 victories. You know, to still take 7 victories in 2 seasons is still brilliant. But look at how much closer Paynes is this time. But this time, Hasho does have DRS, and that's not what Paynes really wanted, because now Hasho is able to just keep in front, keep afloat, with just 3 laps to go in this race. So only, for Paynes, it's only really 2 attempts now left down that pit straight. Hasho's used a bit of his battery, but thing is, Paynes still has that penalty against him, so only if Paynes can get that penalty removed, then he will be P2. Raphael gets a 3-second time penalty. That's the P4 out of the window for him. That's it. It's gone. So for Impact, he'll finish P4 now. The only hope Impact is going to be having is that Lewin Skiller gets a penalty. That's his biggest hope, is that Lewin Skiller also gets a 3-second time penalty, and Impact can finish in P3 in this race and get his first podium. You know, and get his podium in this race and get VMV another podium this season, and to push themselves up into an incredible 5th in the standings. They're gonna do it anyway, even with where he would be. They're still gonna do it and move up into 5th. Umut gets another 3-second time penalty. His progress is very much slowed down. It's not working so much as medium tyres dropping off quite a bit. You can see once again Hasho's gonna get that DRS. Is it enough for Paynes to close in? No, it's not. He's still sitting behind. 2 laps to go in this race. The penultimate lap. These laps are going by very quickly. I have to say, this race has gone by incredibly quickly, especially the last 10 laps. It's just completely disappeared. But now, it is the final few laps. Let me just remind you that EVR are the best on the straights. In the last 3 races, they have had the best straight line speed out of any team. Well, high speed and medium speed has been SKG, but they don't look like they're on for a winning chance, while low speed has been AERT this in the last 3 races. Thing is, only 1 low speed corner on this entire track for AERT, so we're not sure whether they're going to still be leading that out of this week. I'll actually have to check through the data that I'm given whether they are still number 1 when it comes down to low speed cornering, because of course there's only 1 low speed corner on this entire track. But let's see what's going to happen. Has Hasho been saving the battery? Yes, he's maximized his battery. Paynes hasn't, by the way. He's only got half battery left. Switch has gone off. No, only the front 2 have maximum battery. Frozen's deploying his battery now. Same as Hasho. He's doing the same. And so he's just going to, look at this, he's just sprinting away from Paynes down that pit straight. And at the moment, as long as Hasho doesn't get a penalty, as long as nothing goes wrong here, EVR will become the 5th team in assists to achieve a 1-2 finish. And the first team this season to achieve a 1-2 finish in a race. Not a Grand Slam, still, only 3 teams have achieved that incredible achievement of a Grand Slam. And that was FGE in Season 1, ABE also in Season 1, and then AMS in Season 3. So, will we see? It's been averaging at about 2 seasons that we have to wait for each. So, we might see maybe a Grand Slam this season of a of another team. Maybe we'll see a 4th team reach the Grand Slams, but it will be a 5th team to reach a 1-2 finish. Frozen just has to carefully thread the needle through this final sector, not pushing it at all. You can see he's going easy. And only 2 corners to go now in this race. And it has been an incredible race for Frozen. He took pole. He's made it his mission to win. And round the final corner, Frozen wins in Qatar in the FRLT Season 5 assists. Round number 9. His teammate Hasho finishes P2. Look at that. Lewin Skiller, P3. Impact P4. Paynes finishes P5. So SET, only 11 points out of this week. While SKG take an incredible 18. But what an end tonight. Bran finishes P6 in the end. So 7 points for PR still. And they close in. Incredible race from everybody. LR only pick up a small 5 points. LR only pick up 5 points. That's not enough to pull themselves ahead of AZR. They'll still sit 3 points behind going into next week. So that's still an interesting battle going on there. But EVR and EVR 1-2. 1-2 finish, 35 points to come out of tonight's race for EVR as it stands before any stewards report, any post-race penalties. But if EVR come away with a 1-2 finish, 35 points is massive in their championship compared to 18. 17 points gained on the championship leaders from a 50-point gap, by the way, from 50, I think a 51-point gap. Bringing it down to a 31-point gap is just massive for EVR. 31 points now split, as by my maths, 31 points now split the top 2 in the championship. And that's a big difference. To split the top 2 by 31 points, closing in the gap, is just massive for a team like EVR to do. Very tough race. Disappointing race for SET, of course. Another not so great finish. Only 11 points tonight. Brings themselves to 118 points after tonight's race. VMV as well pick up the fastest lap of the day as well. So picking up that point. In the end, Frozen wins with his teammate in P2. A 1-2 finish for EVR, followed by Lewin Skiller. And an incredible race for Impact. Paynes, Bran, Yanni, LK, Raphael, and Sander to end out the top 10. Then it's Tom, Umut, Mattia, Russell, and Switch, with our retirements being Brandon, Angel, Dimab, Luca, and Dodira. And my driver of the day, I've got to say, my driver of the day has got to be Impact. It's got to be Impact. Driver of the day. 18th to 4th. I cannot believe, 18th to 4th. Did not expect that was going to be happening here tonight. I didn't think a heroic drive like that was going to take place. It's very rare for us to have a brilliant drive like that take place from so far back. But I've got to say, that just shows how close it is. The smallest mistakes is what really caught out the drivers and really helped others. But I will say, and I'm going to put this out there, it was incredible seeing what everybody did when it came down to it. It's incredible to see how everybody was incredibly close and how from and how it was just very, very close in the end. But it's the way it goes. I think it's interesting though. It's a very, very interesting race to walk away from. But in the end, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Also click on that notification bell to know about all of the content we're going to be doing from short streams and videos. Also, make sure to join our Discord server with the link below. It should work now. If it doesn't, let me know. But also make sure to go and follow us on Twitter with the in the top left, as you can see, at FRLT F1. Also, massive thanks to our affiliate SimRacing Centre and also our other people that we affiliate ourselves with, Connect Motorsports. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you very soon. Make sure to join us back on Friday for no assists and on Sunday for fours. Thank you so much, and goodbye. Look at this! Look at the battling, and it is a safety car! Here comes Mika into Stoke Corner. Whoa! Almost! And away we go here in the Netherlands for leaning down towards the next couple of... Oh, it is! Oh my god! Whoa! Bit of a season as Nolo wins! In Monza for FRLT Tier 1 of 4. And right, Billy! Oh, he goes!